Welcome to the podcast. Today I'm delighted that we've got Clarke Carlisle with us. Clarke, over I think it's 450 appearances in your career, a few promotions in your career as well. And my memory of you is captain in the Burnley team in the Premier League, big centre back. Thank you for coming on. How are you?
Oh, mate, yeah, I love that massaging my ego, Jack. What an excellent intro. But I will have to correct you. It's over 550
Was it
appearances that,
500?
that I've had, yeah. And I'm
Wow.
very proud of every one of them. Do you know, it's funny because it's only now, probably in the last year, I've been retired 13 years now. It's only in the last year that I've been able to really think and appreciate what I achieved. I've been
It's
really
awesome.
dismissive about what I'd done in the game, but this last year I'm kind of like, do you know what, Clark? You were all right, lad. You done all right, kid.
Yeah, a little bit all right. It's every kid's like. Let's be. I'm a massive football fan, like many of the people that listen. Right, that is the dream to play professional football, to be good enough to play professional football, and you played for so many big teams as well. And towards the end of your career, if you don't mind me saying, Premier League. I mean, cherry on
Exactly,
top.
mate. I have big dreams as a kid, and moving from Blackpool to QPR at 20, I really saw that as like this was it. It was going to take off, but that was when I had my massive injury. Full right knee reconstruction, and that kept me out for 2 years. And I'm
Wow.
not going to lie, off the back of that, my my belief that I was ever going to get to the Premier League, it was rocked. I was
Yeah.
never the same player again. I was never as fully confident in my body again. But considering that football's an average 7 year career, in fact, I think it's less than that now. I think it's six. I lost 2 years to that injury, yet I still managed a 17-year career. I'm so proud of that. And then I moved from QPR to Leeds, and Leeds was the biggest club in my career by a country mile, and I thought that was going to be my Premier League opportunity. That didn't work out. I left and went to relegation favourites Watford, and that's where I made it to the Premier League. It's insane. I think was it Steinbeck, best laid plans and mice and men. You always think
Wow.
it's going to go this way, but that's the wonderful thing about football, mate.
Yeah.
Your dreams can be realised in a multitude of different ways. And yeah, I've got to play in the Premier League, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that.
And captain in the Premier League as well.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome, right?
It is. It's incredibly awesome. Um, that season, I only got to play a handful of games with Watford because I was injured again, and we were relegated by the time I got fit. So I thought the chance had gone, but then at Burnley, you've probably spoken about it with a lot of your guests. At the Championship playoff final, I've got to say, Jack, it is. It's one of the most stressful, nerve-wracking, consequential games of football that you can ever imagine. This
Yeah.
is 90 minutes, and at Burnley, it was our 61st game of the season.
Oh,
61st game of the season because we'd gotten to the League Cup semi-finals. We'd gotten to, I think, the FA Cup quarter-finals. We'd had a long old season, and this is the 61st game of the season. And it's not just your season that rests on this game. For us at Burnley, who were Championship relegation favourites, your whole your career and your livelihood
it's massive.
changes on this
Mm.
game. 90 minutes of football. I'll tell you how big and wide it is. Like, we win that game, we get promoted to the Premier League, and the next year, a Premier League season in Burnley meant that local commerce went up 33%.
Wow.
It changes lives of the whole
Everything. Yeah.
community, and then the opportunity because they then get to bring their player academy up to Premier League level. So now they can take on more talent in the local area, and all of that rests on this 90 minutes of football. And do you know what happened in that 90 minutes of football, Jack?
Go on.
That happened. I was man of the match, mate. Woo!
Man of the match.
Man of the
Legend.
match at Wembley, and you earned the right to play in the Premier League. It's insane. And then, like you said, that season, I mean, we beat reigning champions Man United. We beat them at Turf Moor. Robbie Blake scored a phenomenal goal. An awesome volley well, it was like a bouncing volley at the back post. And Brian Jensen, the BC, saved a penalty. Was it Michael Carrick? Missed a penalty. Yeah,
Oh,
so,
wow,
you
there
know,
you go.
memories like that are just, they're incredible, mate. They really are. In fact, I'm going to have to get some cine film out because my kids, my two youngest are 8 and 5. They don't even know that I played football, you
Oh
know.
really? I was
Yeah.
having this chat with where we had Lee on the other day, and I said to him like, "Oh, like you've achieved some really great things. Have you had this chat? You sat down with your children and told them about your career?" He's like, "Oh well, the oldest sort of no, the younger's a bit too little now, but isn't that great? You could sit back and just go, kids, look what I've done."
It is great, and now I'm in a place to think that that's great
Yeah,
because my youngest, I said 5, she's just turned 6. She's
fair.
mad into football. She's the only child that's been into football, and we take her to watch Blythe Spartans women so that she can see girls playing football, and she goes to a couple of coaching groups, and I've not rolled anything out for her yet, but I think I'm gonna get a game of football out. It's probably going to have to be on YouTube. I don't think it's Pathé News yet.
No, it's not quite. It's not quite. It's in
House
colour.
here at Wembley.
I was looking at some videos the other day, and I'm sure this is a memory which is still in your brain, and you must think about it. But your home debut for Blackpool.
Oh, mate. You
So for anyone that
talk
doesn't know
about-
this, was it 91st minute header, diving header?
It was indeed, mate. Yeah, now that is on Cinefilm. No, talk about core memories. You know, it was my home league debut. I'd played the Tuesday night before away at Wrexham. We won 4-3, but we were 2-0 down at half time, and both goals were my fault. So, you know, I was full of mixed emotions at the end of that game. I was like, yeah, we won, but I was terrible. You know, it's like I wasted my chance. So we get to Saturday, and I'm still in the side. We're playing Carlisle United, ironically enough. 1-1, 90th minute. Corners whipped in at the flicked on at the front post, and bang! You know, there's me diving header at the back post, and oh mate, I can feel it now. My goodness, what was that? 97. That's nearly 30 years ago. I can still feel it now. And
Yeah,
it was
it's
so
amazing.
important because my dad and granddad were in the stand.
Nice.
They'd been to every game that I'd played since I was yay high. My mum was in the stand. And this was the first game she'd been to. And it was just like, you know, like, oh, it was me showing to me mum that I'm good enough, and me saying to dad and granddad, you know, paying them back for all the time they'd invested in me. You know, we had no money growing up, Jack. We were skint,
Yeah.
lived in a council estate in Preston, and my dad and my granddad, they would go without meals so that they could put petrol in the car and take me to these matches and all around the county and the country.
Well,
With my granddad putting in little tins of nourishment. Do you remember nourishment and nutriment?
no.
No, oh, you go to any good like 7-Eleven shop, not a branded shop like a 7-Eleven, and you'll
Yeah.
see like vanilla nourishment, strawberry nourishment, these little tins of protein. My granddad had wrap them up in a Spar carrier bag and bring them to me, and I'd know that he's gone without something to give me that. You know, right from 10 years of age, right through to me signing as a professional. And in that moment, mate, scoring a 91st minute winner, it was like, there you go, paid you back. And it's funny,
That's
you
really
know,
paying
because
back. Wow.
I became a pro, and I've gone on and played these 17 years. I'm in the Premier League. I'm getting off the bus. at getting off the bus at Anfield. My granddad's there with my dad waiting for the bus. And my granddad hands me a Spar carrier bag with 3 tons of nourishment.
In the Premier League.
I'm telling you, I knew how hard my granddad thought the game was going to be because that dictated how many cans of nourishment he gave me.
Would it come with a suitcase?
I'm telling you, and some super malt.
Bless. What a moment. Yeah, I've watched that video a few times. I suppose from there, that's where your career kicked off, and the rest is history. Tell me about some of the fans. I mean, I know Leeds is a massive club. Not dismissing any of the other teams you played for, but Leeds fan base, it means a lot to them, right?
Oh yeah, mate, they're intense. I would say actually, of all the clubs that I played for, Leeds were the most partisan fans, and it's reflective of that single club city. You know, when you're a single club city, it's not just football supporterdom. It's a part of your identity. You know, this is our cohesion as a community. And at Leeds, yeah, it was intense, especially because they were going through difficult times. You know, I signed for them when I think it was 2 years prior. They were in a Champions League semi-final. You know, we Harry Kewell, Mark Viduka,
What a team
and
that
the
was,
fall
eh?
from grace. You know, there are some sliding doors moments in football, and I nearly signed for Leeds the Christmas before. Eddie Gray was the manager, and for some reason, I don't know if it was Leeds or the communication between Leeds and QPR. They were like, no, you know, it's not happening now. So they end up getting relegated, and then I signed for Leeds. Now, I
Wow.
can't tell you the difference that made to, first of all, what was available to me financially. You
Yeah, of
know,
course.
I took a 40% pay cut to go from QPR to Leeds, you know.
Did you?
A 40% pay cut. Yeah, and my career, my financial career, didn't recover from that pay cut for the next 6 years.
What
You
was the
know,
reason? I mean, that's a big decision to make, right? I mean, if we just think about it in terms of anyone's job, like taking a 40% cut is massive. But for a footballer, where like you said, your career could be 7 years, to take 40% cut to make this move happen, what was going through your head?
it's Leeds United, mate. They've Champions League 2 years ago. You know, if I have a look at that, I I'm immediately thinking they're going straight back. You know, this is a club that's going straight back to the Premier League. I could be a part of that, you know, which puts you in the history of the club if you do that. Just the pride in playing for Leeds United. You know, Lucas Radebe was the man there. You know, the chief, and to have
South
him as a
African, wasn't
potential,
it? Yeah.
yeah, to have him as a potential mentor, I was like, yeah, I'm all over this. But I didn't realise that the club was in utter disarray. That all of those names that I wanted to go there to play with, 80% of them were gone by the time I'd signed the contract. You know, the only like big players, with all due respect to everyone that was there, the only
Yeah.
big players that were there when I signed were Gary Kelly, who's just a living legend, and even James Milner. You know, he was there was like a day's crossover before he left, but everyone else who was a huge player for Leeds United, they're gone by the time I
Yeah.
got there. So we had Kevin Blackwell putting together good players, but a mishmash of pretty much like championship stroke Premier League players. And he had to make them gel. And unfortunately, you know, it wasn't in his capability to do that. So I spent a year there. Do you know, here's a bit that people might not know and might not understand. I was married to my ex-wife at the time, and she's from Leeds. So we're going back to her hometown, and all of her family are ardent Leeds fans, obviously. Mate, I can't tell you how frosty it was at Sunday dinner when I'd had a shocker the day before. I'm telling you, these are our family members. And they're
Yeah,
like, no,
it
Clark,
means that much.
yeah, you're not even getting any roast potatoes today. It directly impacts, your interactions with family. That's how pervasive football is. And that's not to say they weren't nice people. Some lovely people in my ex-wife's family. Um, some
But
not
they
so.
just care that
But
much about football, right? People are so passionate about it. So I do get it. And obviously, let's just talk a little bit about your time at Burnley. Am I right in saying was you 34? Is that right? When
no, I
you were in the Premier?
retired at 33.
Oh,
I
how
went to
old were you when you were with
Burnley.
Burnley?
I signed for Burnley in 2000 and let me work it out. 2007 it would have been. So in 2007 I was 28.
28, and is that when you were in the
Yeah,
Premier League with Burnley, or was that the
yeah,
season
yeah. When I
you were going
went
for
to
promotion?
Burnley, they called me a veteran journeyman. That's what the press called me. I was the old man of the team. And when you have that narrative around you, you take it on. I moved to Burnley believing that I was an old man. I'm going there to retire and make some roots because it was in the northwest where my family was from. And again, we were relegation favourites. But, it was Steve Cottrell who signed me, but then Owen Coyle came in. And
Oh yeah,
yeah, Coyley, the most unprofessional manager I've ever had by a country mile. This
really?
guy, yeah, he would have us playing crossing and shooting for Krispy Kreme donuts and small sided games for crates of iron brew. And this is like the height of sports science, That was our lunch the day before a game. We were the fattest squad in the league, but we were the happiest squad. He was
Yeah.
all about person and family first, football next. So when I walk in, he'd be like, "Hey, Clark, how's Gemma? How are the kids? Excellent. Right, let's go and play some football." And
Yeah.
he would, rather than lads' nights out, we had family days where we'd have a barbecue and all, everyone's partners and children would come together. And it was by far and away the closest knit club in its entirety that I ever experienced. And that paid dividends. We ran through brick
Yeah.
walls for each other. We threw each other into brick walls. We truly demanded of each other because we could, because we
Yeah.
knew that it was for the betterment of the team, not because I wanted to make myself look better than you. And yeah, that playoff final, mates. 80,000, 90,000 at Wembley. I mean, there's only, I think Burnley has a population of something like 70 odd thousand people. There was
Wow.
two-thirds of the town at Wembley. It's incredible. It was a burglar's dream. With no one left. But what a moment. Uh,
There's different ways you can do it, right? You're saying there with Owen Coyle and trying to get the team to work closely together and be tight knit and fight for each
mhm.
other. I'm a Spurs fan for my sins, and
Oh,
I'm
mate,
crying
I'm
out
sorry.
for a bit of
I'm
that at the
sorry.
moment, right? But that's the thing, right? Different styles of leadership, different styles of
hmm
management. There's not. I don't, there's not a right or a wrong way. It's just different styles. But I'm
hmm
calling for a little bit of that for Tottenham at the moment. A little bit of togetherness, and you never know where it
Well,
takes
there
you,
are
right?
definitely different styles. I mean, Adi Boothroyd was my manager at Watford and at Northampton actually, and he was a coach at Leeds. That's where I first met him, and he was the other end of the spectrum. And by that I mean he was meticulous. This guy was data, stats, science, sports psychology driven. And when we turned up for the first day of pre-season, 1st of July, he'd be able to tell us exactly what the training session would be on the 10th of February. He was
Okay.
that meticulous. He knew everything was mapped out, and even the way we played, it was percentage football. It was get the ball in areas of least risk, positions of maximum opportunity, all of that. and he had the players to facilitate that. So you look at that Watford side that went up. It was a bit of a motley crew, but we all bought into that. So as soon as the ball came to my midfielder's feet, I knew I wasn't getting it because that was going to be spun around the corner into the channel. So because I know I'm not getting it, we as a defensive line, we can be squeezing out before the ball's even gone.
Yeah.
We're always on the front foot in how we act because we know what we're doing with the ball. And for that to be successful, you've got to have selfless workers in your team. And we have players like Darius Henderson, Marlon King, Ashley Young, Hammer
Mm.
Boatsa, Anthony McNamee. And that was our front line. And they were gifted and they worked tirelessly. They were willing to make 10 runs into the channel and hunt a ball down for just one of them to give them an opportunity with the ball. And I don't think you get that from all of those forward talented players nowadays.
Football's slightly different, right? In my
It is,
opinion, I
yeah.
think that the styles change. I mean, well, the long throws come back though. I don't know where that's come
Oh,
from, but what's your
mate,
thoughts
don't
on
even
that,
get me
Clark?
started on that. All of this talk about set pieces and long throws as though it's tactical genius by A, B, or C. We were doing that way before when.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
and they called it ugly. What did they call it? Neanderthal football. It's all about trends and who's doing it is more
Yeah.
important than what's being done. And what's happening now with set pieces and stuff. I'm all for it because it's maximizing strengths. These are
Yeah.
opportunities. If you've got players who are great aerially, maximize that. If you've got someone who can launch a throw to the back post, that increases your in-box opportunities exponentially. So do it. But what I do think has fed into the way that there's such a disparity on set pieces nowadays has been this is an unintended consequence of the EPPP and the head injury safety. So we
Yes.
don't allow our young people to head the ball anymore, and understandably so. You minimise that. The EPPP focuses on technical capabilities. It focuses on with the ball, on passing the ball, on all of that lovely stuff. Excellent. We're creating technically gifted players. What we're not cultivating are people who know how to head the ball defensively and offensively, nor are we cultivating people who have a desire to attack the ball with their head.
Yeah.
So what you've got now is you've got a handful of players who want to head the ball, who can head the ball, and they stand out. So Virgil van Dijk, Gabriel, people like that. We're like,
Yeah.
who are these superhumans? They're not superhumans. They're just players of old who want to head the ball and know how to head the ball in those two very different ways.
And you was one of those individuals as well, right?
Mate, look at the bones on my head. Look, I've got.
How many headbutts? How many elbows?
Mate, I stole a career on if it moves, head it, and if it doesn't, head it till it does. But no, I used to love heading the ball. I was good at it, and
Yeah.
I would pride myself on it. My brain cell count doesn't thank me for it now, but it was a skill.
Yeah.
It it wasn't dismissed so much, but it wasn't a priority back in the day. It was like centre halves, head the ball. Big, tall number nine, head the ball. Everyone else
Yeah.
do all the other stuff. But it's been pushed so far to the left now that it's become a lost art. And I'll tell you what else has been lost. Tackling. People aren't very good at tackling anymore. You watch Premier League
100%.
games and the way that defenders close down they're at least 3 or 4 yards off.
Oh, they're just
Very
jockeying.
rarely,
They're
yeah,
jockeying.
they
Yeah.
jockey, contact is punished, and that's because people don't know how to tackle in that safe yet aggressive way. It's lost to the game, and the way that it's been sanitized, it makes me think that my style of football, I would have had to have evolved to play today's game, and I would have
Yeah,
done. I'm not going to do myself a disservice. But that being said, I really feel for players like David Dunn, Chris Eagles, who I've played with, Robbie Blake, these technically gifted players who, in my age, I just kick lumps out of them. I'm
yeah.
like, yeah,
They,
that's
they
beautiful
won't get
skill,
past
but
me. Yeah,
yeah, beautiful skill, but do it with one ankle, mate. I dare you. Whereas in today's game, they would have been protected and
yeah.
their capabilities revered. And I think they would have had careers that would have been far greater than the excellent careers that they were able to have.
And in the obviously the Premier League with VAR, I think you can't get away with it as
Nah,
much,
you
right?
can't.
So that's potentially changed some of that. Clark, before we move on, I just want to know a little bit about what you're doing now. Obviously, you're not
Ah,
playing. Be great for everyone just to know sort of like what's what you're up to.
well, I've got, if it doesn't destroy the disruption, that whiteboard is my side hustles,
Go on, nice.
and that whiteboard is my day job. Um,
Wow,
yeah, I've still got a lot of fingers in a lot of pies, Jack. But my day job is business development executive for a gambling harms organisation, and we work on awareness, training, and education around the potential risks and harms that come with gambling. And as we are all well aware, gambling is synonymous with football nowadays.
yeah,
We also build an ecosystem for the affected others. So for every person who is experiencing gambling harm, there are at least 6 to 10 other lives affected by that. Whether it's partners, children, colleagues, all of the interactions that develop around gambling harm. So we strive to address those and support people in that. Outside of that, I'm still engaged in football. I'm on Newcastle United's inclusion advisory group.
oh,
I
wow,
still have an independent role with the FA. I'm still an ambassador for Kick It Out. I'm a proud ambassador for Mind and for Lancashire Mind. Um, Let me have a look. I'm working with Bly Spartans, setting up their community trust. I'm doing a master's. I'm
you're doing a
working with
masters on top of all of that.
Yes, I am.
Jeez,
Yeah, at University of York.
what's the
Um,
masters in, Clark?
it's an MBA actually. So you know what I've done since, because like you said at the beginning, I had this kind of label as Britain's brainiest footballer, but what I've found coming into business is that people see it as pseudo intellect. I have even though I was chair of the PFA, I've had a number of non-exec roles. They didn't kind of hold weight because I didn't have the piece of paper to
Oh,
ratify my knowledge.
surprised.
Yeah, well, that's the way the world works. So, when I became well in 2017 and on this deliberate drive to be well consistently, I thought I'd re-educate myself. So, I did a psychology degree. I've got first class honours in that. I'm doing my master's now, an MBA, because I wanted to underpin my experiential knowledge around mental health with the academia. And
Yeah.
now I'm looking to underpin my business knowledge in the world that I've worked in with the academia. So, I'm
Wow.
just filling in the gap so that nobody's got an excuse to at least have a conversation with me.
Yeah. Have you got the same amount of hours in a day as me? I just want to double check that.
Well, yeah, that's all with having 5 children. My eldest has just
Wow.
given birth to our first grandchild.
Congratulations.
So
There you go. There's another job for you. Get
I'm
that on
telling
your
you,
whiteboard.
mate, that those hours in the day are reducing massively.
Oh, that's great news, though. Congratulations to you and your family. That's brilliant.
Thank you. And thanks for
Right.
asking about it, Jack. Appreciate
No
it.
worries. How's it going on in Newcastle? Just really, really quickly. Your role there.
Yeah, really enjoying it. We
Are
just
they yeah, are they positive with it? Are they looking to sort of change the way they're doing things?
incredibly positive. You know, a young man called Dean Buckle has gone in there and he's totally revamped their whole EDI department.
Nice.
He's put together this new inclusion advisory group. A couple of people who were on an old iteration of it who have come across, but with fantastic, vision and dreams to support not only the club but the community across all aspects of EDI. And there is the usual racism, discrimination, misogyny, homophobia to address. But what I really love about Newcastle is the fact that neurodiversity is really high on their agenda. Our 8-year-old is profoundly autistic. She was non-verbal until she was 5. So, our passion about that as a family, to
Yeah.
really learn everything that we can so that we can provide everything that she needs from her neurodistinct perspective, not what I think she should be feeling
Yeah.
and experiencing in her life. Yeah.
So that's a good experience for you as well, right? So
Oh, of course it
that's
is,
very
mate. Yeah.
interesting. Good luck with that. I think it's I don't hear a lot of other clubs that are doing things like that. So when you said that, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool that they've actually got an EDI board. So yeah, good
It
luck.
is. It's excellent. Very forward thinking.
We're going to go on to some questions now. I don't know if you've had a chance to look through any of these, but we'll see how you get on. So can you tell me who the best player you played with was and why?
Best player I played with was very brief. It was only brief. It was only in the under 21s. It was Joe Cole. Technically, he was just phenomenal. This guy, he reminded me of David Dunn in the youth team because I was I played as a kid with Dunny at Blackburn. But Joe Cole would do on a pitch things that I wouldn't dare try on a training pitch. That's
Yeah,
how outrageous he was, and he had the quality to deliver through with that. His footballing vision was utterly exceptional. You know, to me, he would seemingly do things blind, but it's obviously not blind because he's taken his pictures of the pitch when I'm still caught up with the ball, or I'm looking over here, and that what he could do with the football and what he could see on a pitch, absolutely astounding. The guy was fantastic.
that's a great shout. What a player! I remember he
Mm.
scored. I think it was like a volley for England. I don't know if it was in one of the Euros or World Cups. Touch it up volley. Oh, what a player!
Yeah.
Great shout there, Clark. Great shout.
Thank you.
Who was the most underrated player you played with?
Graham Alexander.
Centre half, Scottish.
Yeah, Scottish. He was a fullback. He was a right back,
Oh,
and then when he came to Burnley, Owen Coyle, and this was a stroke of genius. In fact, this got us promoted. He moved him into that sitting defensive midfielder role,
oh, okay. Yep.
and Greza is he's the most consummate professional I've ever known. That's why he played into his 40s, international at 40. I think he got his first international cap at like 34 and went on to get 70 caps. It's something ridiculous
Wow.
like that. But this guy, when we're in hotel overnight stays and I'm going and playing poker or Mario Kart on the DS with the lads, I come back to the room at 11 and he's there in his Y fronts and his string vest stretching, doing lunges in the room. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm looking after myself, Clarky. And that professionally and personally, I think he's the greatest human that I've met in football. Just a phenomenal man,
Wow.
and incredibly underrated. I think he either didn't or he only missed one penalty in his entire career out of like 70 odd.
Yeah, he was. I remember that he was a penalty taker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you know why? It was because after training every day, he would have a bag of balls and he would tie 6 bibs onto the goal frame, like just behind the goal frame in the netting. And he wouldn't come off the pitch until he'd hit each one of those bibs in turn and back again. And he would do it with the
Wow.
same run up. He would, same run up, same leg swing technique, but he'd just adjust slightly where he was striking the ball, and he would whip it into all of these places. The guy, just incredible. Yeah, I've got so
What a
much love for
shout.
Greza. But that three that Owen Coyle put us in, which was me, Stevie Colwell, and Greza, that allowed everyone else to just go. You
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
go and get us goals, and we'll hold the fort back here. And in that team, there are two teams where I was never concerned if we conceded. And one was that promotion team, and the other one was the QPR team of 2003-4. Me, Danny Shitu, Gino Padula, and Terrell Forbes. And we were defensively solid, but I was never concerned if we conceded because I had consummate faith that our forward players would go and do their job. And it's amazing what a difference that makes.
Yeah.
Because if you're in a team where you don't believe you're going to score, you don't believe in the players around you, when something goes wrong, everything is just like, oh, like here we go again. Or, you take a step back instead of continuing to take a step forward. And it's that psychological and psychosomatic response that causes a bad run of form or one thing to cause a team to capitulate. But in those teams, I felt so confident.
Yeah. It's making me think about Tottenham at the moment, to be honest, Clark. I'm going to sit here and cry.
Yeah. Only takes a nominal thing, doesn't it, Jack? And then
Yeah,
everything just comes
absolutely.
tumbling down. Yeah.
Absolutely. Did you have any transfers that never materialised? You spoke about the Leeds one, but then you finally got the move. But was there any other transfers that nearly happened?
Yeah, one that I do actually have, but am I going to say regret? No, I don't regret, but I wonder. So I
Yep.
nearly went to Rangers when they got demoted. And
Okay, yes.
and for well, I say for some reason, I'll tell you why I didn't go. If I'd have gone, I was chairman of the PFA at the time, and if I'd have gone to Rangers then, I wouldn't have been allowed to continue as chair of the PFA. And I really wanted that role because I had an eye on beyond football. I was developing really good connections and being put in circles that I wouldn't be put in without it. But I'm sat here now and I'm thinking, can you imagine being a part of that Rangers side that went right from the bottom of the tree all the way back up to the top again? I mean, those guys, like I said about, my notions about Leeds, they're etched in Rangers history now, and that could have been a, an opportunity to play for one of the biggest clubs in Scotland and be a part of that re-emergence of it. Yeah, I wonder about that one.
Yeah. And I don't blame you for wondering. That is one that you would think about, right? I mean, Celtic and Rangers, two massive, massive clubs. I've never had the privilege of going to the ground, but I always watch it on TV, and
Oh,
it
mate,
looks
phenomenal.
amazing.
Both of them. I mean, Ibrox, I've been to watch a game and we went to Celtic Park for a pre-season friendly with Leeds. And mate, it was rocking in a pre-season friendly. I was like,
Yeah.
this is insane. So yeah, that would have been some experience. I think I've missed out with that.
What a story. Rangers fans, you'll be gutted. We'll do the last one of this section. Who's the toughest striker that you faced?
Ah, I mean, God, you look at the era that I played in, right? That I played in the Premier League. The strikers from virtually every club at that era would walk into the top four clubs now. You
They were
know,
so
it,
good, weren't they?
it's ridiculous. I'm talking Bergkamp, Henry, Anelka, Drogba, Torres, Van Persie, Robbie Keane. These guys who they were utterly incredible. Fernando Torres. I was blessed to play against some incredible strikers. Drogba was the most frustrating because he was a physical battle centre half, and I
Yeah.
loved that. And he had the dark arts as well, so he'd stand on my toe, he'd elbow me. But as soon as I touched him, it was over and he won a free kick. And I'm like, ref, did you not see the last 7 things he did to me? And he just laughed to himself. He was really clever with it. Henri was outstanding. Cristiano Ronaldo was outstanding. Rooney, Owen, outstanding. Robbie Keane caused me the biggest problems.
Why?
He caused me the biggest problems.
Low centre of gravity.
I know how to work with a little striker, but you might remember this League Cup semi-final at White Hart Lane, Burnley, Tottenham. They turned us over 4-1, and Robbie Keane would take himself into places where I couldn't go, but I couldn't leave him, and my central midfielders couldn't take him. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, mate, the ball would have to be perfect. 46 degrees, 98 mile an hour. His touch would have to be perfect. He's all right there. Mate, the ball's 46 degrees, 98 mile an hour. His touch is perfect on a sixpence. Top corner 4-0. It's like, thanks for coming, Clarke. I'm like, I don't know what to do with this guy. He was such an intelligent player. Do you know what, actually? You've just triggered me there by asking me that question and me going to that moment. That League Cup semi-final, we got done 4-1 at White Hart Lane. We take you back to Turf Moor and we beat you 3-0 in 90 minutes. Now, to my mind, we win that game.
Yeah.
But no, not in the League Cup. For some reason, away goals only count after extra time of the second leg. So we go into extra time, and I think Defoe scored and Berbatov scored, and it ended up being 3-2, and we lost like 6-4 or something. But that triggers me, because away goals count after 90 minutes, and we should have gone to the League Cup final.
Only if, mate, only if. Right, we'll go on to some quick fire. Best stadium you played in?
Well, I played in Millennium Stadium when it was new, which was amazing. Wembley Stadium when it was brand new, which was amazing. But do you know, I've got a love for the old grounds. I really do. Playing at Anfield was exceptional, especially because I think that was my greatest performance. Even though, I marked Fernando Torres. I old-manned him. I marked him out of the game. We lost 4-0. Yossi Benayoun got hat-trick, and I got a 3 out of 10 in the paper. But I know that was my best game. But Goodison Park. Goodison Park. I love playing at Goodison Park. It's just like, it's a proper, old, authentic ground. The fans are on you. It was amazing. And I'm delighted that they've not sold it for, like property or anything. And that they're keeping it, and the women's team there are going to play in that. I love that. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, that's a good move. Who's the loudest away fans that you experienced?
Loudest away fans. What a good question. When you say loudest away fans, do you mean loudest visiting fans to us, or loudest home fans when I'm
visiting
away?
you? When you're at home.
When I'm at home, Millwall fans are loud.
Yeah.
Man City fans were very loud.
Really?
They've got a diehard away support. We played against Man City when they came down to Old Division 2, League One at Blackpool.
Wow.
So we had and my first experience of City fans was in that environment. So
things have changed.
That with now, is incredible. Any other good fans that stand out? Cardiff. I think Cardiff fans were pretty noisy as well. Yeah.
There's some good choices there. Who was your childhood hero?
Pele, without hesitation. My dad bought me My Life and the Beautiful Game, which was a biography by Robert L. Fish. And mate, I read that book cover to cover. I totally dissected his goal scoring trends and everything. He's got all of his goals in the back of the book. He was my hero for a guy to come from the slums of Brazil, play his first games barefoot, and go on to be, the greatest goal scorer of all time. I was like the Pele of Preston, mate, in my mind.
At centre back.
Never got there, but in terms of inspiration, yeah, incredible.
Love that. Last one from the quick fire. Who was the best player you ever played against?
I could say Cristiano Ronaldo, but it was a bit too early, to be honest. That was it when he was at United, the FA Cup semi-final at Villa Park, and he was good. But I would actually say quite a few members of either that team or the Arsenal Invincible teams could fill this role.
Okay.
Dennis Bergkamp was outstanding. Thierry Henry, sensational. Paul Scholes, incredible. Patrick Vieira. It's in that group.
An absolute shame, Vieira.
Yeah.
They're not bad choices, those names, are they?
Oh, thanks. You wonder why I needed therapy when I retired.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Right, brilliant. We've got the last section now, Clarke. So, part of our app, our game, we do a game called Football Blackjack. So it's based on the game Blackjack, where with cards you're 21, you're aiming for. If you get more than 21, then you're out. The twist that we've got is you pick 4 players, and this is goals that we're talking about. 4 players, all of them need to score at least 1 goal for you to be active, and you're aiming for 21 goals collectively between those 4 players. Does that make sense?
All right. That makes sense, yeah. But what's the time scale and
so
right.
we're gonna do last season, so 24-25 in the Premier League. You've got 4 picks and you've got to try and make 21 goals. I will try my best. You tell me the name, I'll see how many goals they got. It's not easy.
Okay. Are you going to tell me as I announce them?
Yes. So you tell me a name, and I'll tell you what their total was. But you're aiming for 21 between the 4 of them.
Okay. I'm going to go. My first choice will be Ollie Watkins.
Right. Ollie Watkins last season got 16 goals.
Boom.
So you've got 16 in the bank.
Yeah.
So you've got 3 more players that you've got to try and get 4 goals.
No, 5 goals, surely.
5 goals. Yeah, I'm not very good at maths.
All right, quick maths. So is that the... Are we going to guess who was on countdown? Right.
Did you win that one?
My next choice is Tyrone Mings.
Tyrone Mings.
He just got 1, right?
If you've got this would be amazing. So let's have a look. Tyrone Mings. 0.
Oh, no! He wasn't...
Funny enough.
Is that me out of the game? Because
that would be you out of the game. That would be you out of the game.
Devoed.
He actually, funny enough, Tyrone Mings, since a 23-24 season, I think that must have been when he had his big injury. So he only had made 1 appearance that year. The season after that, he got no goals, roughly about 14 appearances. I think he was recovering from his injury because he had quite a bad one. And then this year, he hasn't scored any goals so far in the Premier League. Not easy, is it, Clarke?
No, because I was going to go for Kobbie Mainoo.
Let me look him up whilst I'm here. Mainoo. I think he got a couple last year.
Yeah, I was going to go for Kobbie Mainoo and then Mark Gay. That was going to be my 4.
Well. I think he's a great player. Yeah, I think he's a really good player. Kobbie Mainoo last year got none.
Oh, wow.
No Premier League goals. The season before that, he got 3.
Oh, you see, I'm a season out.
But how crazy is that, though? Because I would have said he would at least have got a Premier League goal. So last year, Mark Gurley got 3 goals in the 24-25 season.
Okay. So even with my thinking, I would have bust on that. But that's a good little game. That I like that.
Yeah,
I
well,
didn't really
the
give
reason we
myself much
started it,
breathing room with Ollie Watkins. Hmm.
yeah, so we started it a few years ago. Myself, I was doing the fantasy football, but then like December time, I just didn't keep up with all the admin for it. So we do this. You pick 4 players at the start of the season, and then that's it. You don't got to do anything else. So yeah, it's quite easy to do.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's good fun. Like we have a little WhatsApp group and we all give each other a little bit of jip. So yeah, it's good fun. Well, Clarke, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. And look, I wish you all the best for the future, and we'll stay in touch.
Oh, thank you very much, Jack. A pleasure to spend some time with you, mate. Yeah, look forward to catching up again soon.
Thank you.